Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is where I get to chat with people in the world of arts and entertainment who I've connected with over the years. And today I'm very happy to have back on the show, this time live video with Darby Mills. Welcome back, Darby.
Hey, Tommy, how are you?
I'm doing just great, especially now that I get to talk to face online for the first time. So, Darby, everybody knows you for the most part as the voice, as the queen of scream for the Headpins. And there's a lot of history there, and we can touch on that. But you have something brand new that you want to tell everybody about this new project, True Story. And we will get into that in depth. But first of all, let's just have a brief history of how you started in the business and your experience with the Headpins.
Do you have a lifetime? High school friends of mine were in a band. Uh, I went over to watch them rehearse one day. They were doing "Crazy on You" by heart, which I was enamored with Ann Wilson and the Dreamboat Addy album. Excuse me, and I laughed and chuckled. Of course, I get a cough now, and so the drummer, who was a dear friend of mine, threw the album cover at me and said, "Then you sing it." And so I sang it while they played it. And a month later, I did my first show with them singing "Crazy on You" by heart. And it was on the stage that day in a 100 Mile House, in the middle of a tiny little town and a high school, that it was affirmed that that's what I was going to do. So that's how it started.
Cool, cool. And so from there, I believe did Too Loud Brian McLeod, did he spot you, or how did you
Oh,
get into the Headpins?
I had been on the road for I graduated in 78, and a week, 2 weeks after graduation, I and all this information is in True Story. I loaded up my silver AMC Gremlin and headed off to Calgary and auditioned for I don't know how many bands, landed a job there, lost the job, moved to Vancouver. I moved in about a year and a half, I think 6 times, joining different bands and having them not work out. And then finally landed with Steelback, moved to Victoria. We were doing the Feldman A circuit through the West Coast or Western Canada. And that's when Brian offered me the job. I'd been with Steelback for about a year, maybe a year and a half, when I got the offer to join the Headpins at that time. So still relatively new, well traveled, but relatively new to the business.
Right, yeah. And I know I've been in the situation where I came from a small town in North Ontario, North Bay, and I knew that if I wanted to do anything with my music, I'd have to go to Toronto. So I found myself in bands with strangers, and you either move forward or you sink, right? Sink or swim, whatever. But it's always interesting when you're playing with people that you haven't met before. Did you have any surprises as you went down the road with the Headpins, as far as any personalities or any issues that you didn't expect?
Oh, of course. It's yeah, I mean, you're spending hours and hours and hours in a moving vehicle with people that you might like and might not like. It doesn't really matter. You still have to go out and do a show. You learn all those things the hard way usually. And as far as the Headpins go, it was a friend of mine once said, was it like being in a boot camp working for Brian McLeod? And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what it was like. You got yelled at a lot, and you learned the hard way. I could say more, but I won't.
Yeah, we don't want any lawsuits. Yeah. Yes,
Well,
yeah.
he's unfortunately gone now, but whatever. It's people are people, and you know, time to whatever, whatever.
Right, yeah. So I think most of us know that there were three successful Headpins albums, but there's more to that story, isn't there?
Yeah, if you're speaking about the three albums that came out, CDs actually, I don't believe they ever came out on album after. The original three Headpins albums never did make it to CDs. Only the big bands got CDs back in the 80s or the first 5 years of the 80s. And so, yeah, after the Headpins had broken up, Solid Gold Records, which was our Canadian label, for some of it. I don't know. I think the Headpins were signed to four different labels. Uh, every year we were signed to a new label. Anyway, once we'd broken up, the Solid Gold roster got sold to CBS, and they put out a greatest hits, then or anthology, and then there was another greatest hits out, and then another. So three greatest hits, basically, three albums and three greatest hits. So I think that's a record.
Yeah. Now I know that a lot of this, if not all of it, is in your new show, True Story, and you're going to be bringing this show to the Soft Cedars in BC and with the live band and all that. Um, there, there was after the Headpins, didn't you go over to Europe? You'd signed your own deal. Was it with Warner, Chappelle, maybe?
It was MCA.
Okay.
MCA Records out of Los Angeles signed me as a solo artist. I went over to Europe. I recorded at Eel Pie, which is Pete Townsend's studio. I got to hang with Pete a little bit. And yeah, we got 6 songs recorded. I came home to write some more tunes to find out that the A&R man that had signed me to MCA had been fired. And I was now trying to convince the new AR guy that he should continue on with another A&R guy's project. And it didn't work. So that album never did come out, even though I mean, the players that were on it were just phenomenal. Produced by Greg Walsh, Tina Turner's Private Dancer album. One of the producers from that album, Tina Turner's guitar player, conga player from Santana, a bass player from, oh goodness, it's been so long since I've told this story. I can't remember everything, but yeah, it's some wonderful coming together, if you will. But at the same time, the label was pushing me to become. Jody Watley was the flavor of the day. No disrespect to Jody, but that's pretty much what artists are, the flavor of the day. And so they were trying to get me out of the hard rock, if that's what the Headpins were. I don't even know anymore. Into more of a funky, whatever. So, yeah, those tracks never came out, never will. I don't know where they are. They're buried somewhere at Eel Pie, I guess.
Is it true that they bumped you for Tiffany?
Yes, well, the new A&R man said to my then manager at the time, well, I want to break a female artist this year. It's between you and this 16-year-old who's never performed live before, but we were thinking about going with her. And we kind of thought that was a bit of a joke. They already had at least 100 grand American into my album. So we went, well, we want to know now before we leave. And yeah, so he said, okay, well, I'm going to go with Tiffany. So
That
it was
just
got punted right there.
that just slays me, I mean, God bless her soul, or whatever demon you choose, bless their soul, whatever. But that just slays me because, you know, I, as a testament to your vocal prowess, I mean, when people think of the Headpins, they don't think of whoever that new person is, and they certainly don't think of the drummer who's running things. People associate the Headpins with you, with the
Well,
Queen of Scream, Darby Mills. You're the goddess of that, genre. And I worked with a female singer over the years who's really, really super talented, and she's got a really powerful voice. They were signed with a band called Chaos on the East Coast, and her and her husband and I have been great friends and sometime band members together and whatnot. And she could sing anything I asked her to sing. I mean, she had no problem with Pat Benatar, with, uh, just about anything. I asked her if she thought she could do Don't It Make You Feel Like Dancing? She said, Oh man, I've tried, and I just can't. Because you just have an incredible, not only range, but your power is just amazing. So, and obviously you've worked hard at maintaining your physical fitness over the years because I'm not going to tell people how old you are, but I think you're about a month younger than me, and I'm pretty old. So
Yeah, I hear you.
yeah, kudos for keeping yourself in good shape and in good form and looking after your voice. That's something that a lot of our peers just can't do anymore.
Yeah, well, what can I say? As I've dealt with people that are confronting me over some of my posts regarding I am not singing with the Headpins anymore. It's been 8 years. Please don't buy tickets thinking you're going to see me. And I got a fair amount of flack from their supporters going, leave them alone, let them work. And it's like, people are coming to me. I am not searching out your new Headpin fans. They're coming to me thinking I'm still in the band. So if I'm not supposed to be able to tell people I'm not with the band anymore, then maybe they should. But you know what? Let's just leave it at that. It's
You know, when I
it's
watched
so
your
tiring.
when I watched your promo video for True Stories, I noticed that you listed some of the bands that you worked with, either opening or touring with. You said the original April Wine, the original Toronto, for example, and I that's so important. You know, this whole thing with the Guess Who that was happening, where these guys that nobody knew who they were. I mean, the original drummer who was on stage sometimes and not on stage for the rest of it, whatever, and they were advertising songs that like they had Burton Cummings singing and they're advertising their band with his voice and and they it's just unbelievable what people are doing and how the public just sits back and they'll buy the tickets anyway.
Well, that's one of the reasons why the Darby Mills Project did the medley, it's called, which is 6 Headpin songs and just sections of it, a verse and a chorus into the next. And we did a fun video for it. Is I got again, many calls regarding their, that's your voice on the ad for the festival that they're in. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm upset with them using my voice to bring people in and they're not stating the new singer's name, then I will make sure that my band, when we do ads, that it is my voice and it's my band. So we have at least 6 songs now that when like we're running an ad for True Story, and the Headpin songs that are in the ad are songs done, Headpin songs that are recorded by the Darby Mills Project. So I'm not using Headpin songs from the Headpins albums to promote the band. So and that's the other reason why originally in 2016 when I left the Headpins, I called it the Darby Mills Project rather than just Darby Mills, because then it would be absolutely clear that it wasn't the Headpins. They just left off the Headpin name. So, but you know what? As as someone once told me who wrote a song called "Rock and Roll is a Vicious Game," it truly is, and there are some nasty people out there and there's some wonderful people out there. So you know what, you just you just you either walk away or you keep trying. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm continuing to try because I love to sing, so I'm hoping that I can continue to do that for yes, and I am 65 for at least 5 or 6 more years before my voice does give out on me, because it does tend to do so,
I
even
had
though not
somebody say
bitter.
I had somebody say to me the other day that I didn't look a day over 45, and I'm going to say the same thing to you. That's some of us are just, I know that I've worked hard at it, and I've seen videos of you, you're working hard at it. So kudos. I can almost relate to, not to the same degree, but I can almost relate to how you would feel having your voice used to promote the new lineup. A number of years ago, my band played at the Stratford Blues Festival, and it's Stratford on the Avon here in Ontario. And we had a pretty good show. We sold a lot of CDs. I was pleasantly surprised by that. And then the next year, they changed the format where they wanted the bands to have a sponsor. And I said, well, that's not my job. You can either pay us or not. We're not going to work under those circumstances. But then I'm scrolling through my news feed and I see an ad for the Stratford Blues Festival, and it's me playing guitar and singing in their poster, and I'm not on the show. So I thought, surely to God, there must be somebody who's better looking than me that you could have picked, whatever. But I did send them a message and they did take down my image. But I thought, man, the nerve of these people, like they're using your voice, they're using your legacy to try and sell their gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, say
There's
la
not
vie,
a
right?
not a whole lot I can do about it at this point, other than change direction, and that's where True Story has come in. So I'm no longer competing with that name for shows in Canada, fairs and festivals and casinos that I once played with them. I thought I had something to do with the success of them, but because I'm second choice, the Headpins will always be booked before myself. So going in the direction I'm going now, the Soft Cedars, um, they're the theaters. Um, they aren't normally run by agencies like the fairs and festivals are. They have control over who gets booked, and or major influence, let's put it that way. So when you have to buy the room, in not every case, but in my case, because I'm reproving, reinventing myself yet again at 65, um, we are going into these rooms right now as a paid um, we're not getting paid, we're paying to play, in other words. So it's the old fashioned way of doing business, and so we're buying the room for the evening and hoping that we sell enough tickets to cover the costs, and hopefully this debut show that we're doing here in March in my hometown, which might be a good thing, might not be. I guess we're going to find out. Is just is the debut. We're going to find out what people think. Again, 21 videos. Everything has to run really smoothly for this show to go off properly. And I live 5 hours away from the band, so getting to rehearse is a huge endeavor. But I'm heading back down to Vancouver in the next couple of days to do some more rehearsing and making sure that all that editing and all the gear that makes the show come together is all working in tandem. And it's exciting and nerve wracking all at the same time. But that's my dedication to my craft, is something new, something exciting, and not just relying on my past and past successes to carry me through, even though that's got hopefully something to do with it, but brand new, and trying my best.
I
Yeah.
totally feel your pain. I have a show coming up here at the Aeolian Hall at the end of March, and it's the same thing. I pay for the venue, and I hope to God I sell enough tickets to make some money or at least break even. Now, why don't you expand a bit on what True Stories is all about and the concept in general? What's going to happen at these shows?
Um, well, during COVID, sitting at home, not being able to work, um, I'm discovered years ago that I was a creative soul, and if I wasn't creating, you just get stagnant and miserable. So I had put one or two videos together prior, um, and realized that I quite enjoyed the process of editing and putting videos together and filming and doing whatever. So I came up with this idea, and also realizing 2020 for the Darby Mills Project was the break the glass ceiling kind of year for us. We were going into venues and festivals that we were told when I left the Headpins I'd never get into. And we were booked, and then of course 2020 happens, right? March 2020, and everything just came to an abrupt halt. So I went, how can I keep myself occupied? Anyway, long story longer, I started video editing and went and saw a couple when the lockdowns were over. There were a few bands that had come through the Soft Cedar here in Vernon, and I realized just how different the way you work those shows happen. And I realized, it's like, maybe this is something that I can do. I already had the idea when I first left the Headpins that maybe telling my story is something that would be an interesting thing for people to see, not knowing a lot of the stuff that has gone down, as any musician can tell you. They've been in the business 48 years, like I have. They will have stories and woe-would me's and glory days, right? So um, I started putting one video together, two videos together. Then it's like I need two 45-minute sets at minimum. And in that, now it's 21 songs, 21 videos, and it tells the story from basically birth, how I started, how singing became part of my life, into the bands and songs that I sang in the different bands I was in, and then ends up with the newest tracks that I've done in the last 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what it's all. It's got pictures and videos, and in between the songs, I tell stories, and so that's hence the name True Story. This is my path of my 48 years.
So it's basically a live and interactive show, and you're telling the fans your story and the things that have happened, and from there to here. So that sounds really interesting, and I wish I could be out in BC to see some of these shows. I do remember, and when I watched the promo for True Story, I remembered you were talking about your dad at the campfire, how he would just be belting out these songs, and then you could hear the applause from the other side of the lake. And obviously, that must have been very influential on your um, becoming a singer.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, absolutely. Even though I didn't think about being a singer, I thought I was going to be an actress. I figured that was the route I was going to go, but yeah, that grade 10 bugging the drummer about singing Crazy on You by heart, just it was a right hand, left hand turn. And less than 2 years later, I was in my car and driving for the next 45 years, 48 years, driving. Yeah.
Well, it's been a long and illustrious career for you, and I'm happy to know that you haven't stopped and that you're going to keep moving forward. And I do wish you every success in selling tickets, and I expect that you're going to have a great time. And I'll be following on social media. So, do you have a list of dates or?
No, at this time, we've only got the one show booked. We are scheduled to do a 5 camera shoot in April, and that will be 6 terabytes worth of footage that I will be editing into a hour and a half uh, movie show, whatever, that I'm hoping to perhaps have broadcast on particular different stations or independent uh, broadcast
Yeah, so you're
stations.
putting together a
Sorry,
documentary type thing, a rockumentary, if you will, and you're going to hope to sell it to whatever markets are out there.
whatever market will take it, and if not, it'll be on the website, and I'll decide what to do with it at that point. It's a crazy world right now. Again, I am not part of the agency world. I'm an independent in every way, shape, and form, and so always looking for a new place to find a home for what I'm doing. And you know what? That's a job all in itself. But it's okay. You gotta take the bull by the horns and do what you can, and that's what this is all about. So the Vernon show is we are probably going to have some cameras there as well, just to get a different angle for, because the streaming show that we're going to be doing in April will have a different look because it's in a closed-in room, and it's just a totally different look. So we're just trying to get as many different angles and just do our job at having the best promotional tools that you can have in this day and age.
Well, it certainly sounds like you're on the right track, Darby. Is there one central source where people can stay on top of what you're doing? Like what is your website?
Well, darbymills.com is the
Okay.
website. You know what? And I've been so busy getting this editing done. I haven't brought the website up to date at this point, but the Darby Mills Project uh, Facebook page is probably the most up-to-date place that you can find out what's going on. Once I can get my head above water with making sure the show has worked and all the editing is done and proper, I'll be upgrading, because I do that myself as well. I'll be upgrading the website and making sure that everything is the website, the host of the website, or the place where the website is being held, changed owners, and they've changed everything. So it's um, change. It's a constant thing. Yeah, trying to keep up with everything is brutal, but yeah, I'll be bringing that up to date. But right now, just the Darby Mills Project on Facebook or Instagram is probably the best place to stay on top of the
Well, I just
crazy.
have to say, Darby, for somebody who gets no sleep, you look great. And you sound great. I don't want to take up your whole day, Darby. This has been so much fun. And I really hope that everybody goes out to your show in Vernon and stay on top of things on your Facebook and the website, Darby Mills Project. And thanks so much for doing this with me one more time. And until next time,
All
cheers.
right, John, you take care. Bye-bye.
Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including recording, editing, guest acquisition, etc. Don't forget to look for the accompanying articles based on these interviews at 519magazine.com. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn, all rights reserved. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us keep it going, why don't you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, cheers.